Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this leadership podcast from Learning and Development here at Telia. I'm your host, Eivind, and today we have a very special guest, and I think you will be excited to listen to or watch this episode. And we have our very own CEO, Patrik Hofbauer. Welcome.
Thank you. What an introduction.
Yes.
Thanks for having me here.
It's going to be a great episode, and I just want to start off by thanking you for taking your time. I know a leader like yourself, you have a busy schedule. Everybody wants a piece of you. So we really appreciate that you're taking the time to talk with us today. I just want to start off by trying to get to know you just a little bit better. A lot of us, we can watch you on our company meetings and streamings from Solna and so on. But you're a hockey fan, obviously. Let's say you're at a hockey match. There's a pause in the game. You have a stranger next to you, and he just kind of elbows you a little bit, and then he asks, "Who are you? What do you do for a living?" How would you answer that question?
Well, that is a very unusual situation for me. First of all, I'm a hockey fan, but I'm really a sports fan. So I watch basically everything in sports, first of all, So that's a big part of my life. Then I normally tend to answer the questions before, I raised the question before. So I normally don't get that kind of questions. It's a bit difficult. So normally I ask them, who are you, what are you doing, but not what you're doing for a living, why you're here. So I normally say, when I get the question, I actually say that, hi, I'm Patrik. I'm very into sports. I'm very interested, and that's the reason why I'm here. So I don't connect it to my work.
Right.
So normally I'm just sitting there and being a sports fan.
Yeah. And
like
you
sports.
usually ask the questions.
Normally I ask the question, yes, before. So very seldom, actually it hasn't happened so far that I got the question, because normally I'm more curious and ask them.
Right. Also a bit traditional for us Scandinavians to not really ask your stranger a question.
But I think normally I see many hockey games because I have a son playing ice hockey. So I see many hockey games, and there are always new people sitting next to me, so I normally ask.
Oh, that's good.
Why are you here? Do you have any specific reasons, etc. So it's quite good to hear that story.
And also a very good leadership trait to be interested in others.
Yeah, but I'm also curious, what they are doing there. And someone is showing up with, for example, another team's jersey on, so it's quite... and they have always, or the majority of the times, they have a story behind it.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. And being a leader, you've been a leader for most of your career. And you have a lot of drive, a lot of vision, a lot of perspectives. But and you can answer this as a private person or as a leader of a big company. But what are you passionate about? What drives you? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, but I think there are a couple of drivers I have inside my body. One is really about passion for a customer, what we are delivering to the customer. But then what I think the most important driver for my development is actually my curiosity. So I'm very curious. I always want to learn something new. I don't like to stand still. So every morning, basically, I watch myself in the mirror and look, okay, did you learn something yesterday? Did you move on, or are you staying still? Standing still. So that is an important part of me, I think, the curiosity side.
Yeah. And working in learning and development myself, to learn something new is so fundamental for everyone to actually move forward in life, both as a human being, a leader, employee. Doesn't matter what you do.
And I'm always nervous, that I miss out something. I need to learn something new. So I think that is an important driver. So but it's part of our life. I mean, things are moving around us. Look at technology, how fast it develops and evolves, and we need to be on it as well and understand what's happening. How can we use this technology to the benefit for our customers and ourselves? So I'm very curious there. So
a lot of drive, a lot of curiosity. The backbone of that is that we can also be frustrated as persons. So at the end of the day, if you're like, oh, this frustrates me. Like, what frustrates you as a leader?
Yeah, and I think we're on to that now at Telia. So one frustration for me is when we say that we we take a decision. Okay, let's do this, and then I see that it doesn't happen, or it takes too long time. That is for me a frustration. So and if we agree, on something, and that something for some reason we don't get it done, and then I ask myself, what is happening here, and then that creates a lot of frustration, because I want to see that we are moving forward, things gets done here, and we take the initiative to improve or do things better all the time, and if it stops, then so there is a part of impatience as well in that. So
and just playing on that, because you've been in the telco industry before, and now you're here at Telia. From your previous work within the telecom industry, and now we're here in 2024 as we're recording this, things are moving fast. How has the telco industry changed since the last time you were in the industry?
It's a very interesting question, because I received that question when I visited Mobile World Congress this year in Barcelona. And that I was pretty new then. Back industry, I left the industry in 2018. And then now coming back, and I was a bit surprised, because if you look at the bigger questions, they were basically the same as they were in 2018. So one question is how to monetize 5G. So in 2018, when I left, we actually decided that we should start to invest and roll out 5G. Now when I came back now in February this year, we see that we have rolled out to a large extent 5G. But the question how to monetize 5G, especially in B2B, is still there. So it's quite interesting, to see that there are the topics. And then another topic that was very visible at the Mobile World Congress was the discussion about consolidation, regulation with the EU. And guess what? We had exactly the same discussion in 2018. And it felt like we were back in 2018 again with the same broader questions.
Yeah.
But otherwise, if you look at technology, AI was not even there at least the language models were not present at all in 2018. So there are many things when it comes to technology that has evolved, and we are much further now than we were in 2018.
Yeah.
But the basic questions for telcos are still there.
Yeah. And I think just from like a consumer perspective, because since then we had a couple of years with a pandemic worldwide, which I think kind of brought technology and our dependency on good technology to the forefront of everyone's everyday life. So many of the same questions, maybe a different pace, and everyone's watching now. So it's very interesting.
But I think our industry have never been so relevant as we are today. If you look what's happening in the geopolitical situation in the world as such, with the instability that we see, coming back to robust core connectivity services, since everything in the society today is relying on internet. And guess what? We are actually building the networks so we can provide the data that we need to use for AI and other services. So we have never been as relevant as we are now. But the security level, of course, has increased. The demand for secured, proper solutions has increased a lot the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. It's a very we play a pivotal part in our society, both in our region and towards the EU as well. So it makes me proud to work in a company like Telia, because we're such an integral part of upholding that security and level of confidence, I would say.
Yeah, but if you look at the society today, we are such an important part of building and developing robust societies, since we are building the proper networks that we again produce all data, connect people, connect to internet. This is really in the central part of all development in societies. So this gives me a lot of energy every morning when I go up from my bed, and go to the office. This is a lot of engagement that comes out of what kind of position we have and what we produce.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the services, etc. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Think about it when you go to a dinner, and ask your friends, what are you doing for a living or what you do at work, and they say, well, and they ask me, well, we are an important part of developing the society. Without us, everything stops.
Absolutely.
Cut the internet for a day, and you will see what's happening.
Yeah.
Not that many people that can say that, tell that story.
That's very true. So hopefully nobody cuts our internet.
No.
That's what we do. But of course, and this also is a huge responsibility as for our company at large. Also a responsibility for you as a leader, and also everyone else in our company. And talking about leadership for a bit, you lead a lot of leaders as well. So when you bring in leaders in your team, or when you're recruiting talent, or when you're watching the organization, what do you look for in a leader?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I look into the passion. If you have the passion, the drive to always improve. So that is actually what I'm looking for. So you have the right mindset, because everything is about mindset at the end of the day. If you see yourself, what kind of role you have and how you can impact the business that we are, or actually the services that we're providing to our customers. So that is, I think, one thing. Then I think is self-reflection is important for me as well. That you learn, you can do a lot of good stuff. You will do mistakes. And can you learn from the mistakes? And what have you learned? So when I do interviews, I normally look for the passion, the mindset, but at the same time also for reflections.
Yeah.
That we always can reflect on, okay, what went wrong, or what did we do well? What can we learn from that, and bring that with us, for the next phase or next decision.
Yeah. We're going to talk about strategy in a bit, but I just noticed Lars Johan, our chairman of the board, he said in a recent shareholder meeting, now going forward, it's all about execution, execution, execution. And our leadership framework here at Telia is our 4 E's: envision, engage, enable, and execute. And we say that we ensure that courageous decisions are being taken at every level. And of course, speaking to you as our CEO, I would love to hear your thoughts on a courageous decision that you've done one time. In your words, what would that be?
Yeah. So, but can I just comment on the execution part first? And I think Lars Johan said it in his starting speech, for the capital markets update we had here some week ago. But if you look at it, every company can design a proper strategy. And if you cannot do it by yourself, you can pay expensive consultants to do it. Then you have a perfect strategy.
Mm.
The problem or the opportunity is actually that the ones that are the winner in the market are the ones that are executing best. So if you look at the performance and look at these Fortune 500 companies and look at what is the difference between the winners and the losers? Well, the winners are the ones that are executing really well. So 80%, to simplify it a bit, 80% of the success is not coming from how good strategy you have. It's actually how well you execute. So that's the reason why Lars Johan also talking about execution, and we do the same internally.
Yeah.
So let's now focus on execution going forward, not improve our strategy all the time. We have tried to simplify it this time, but otherwise it's that. So then these kind of decisions, well, I think I remember this was maybe some 10 years ago. We made a decision in that management team at that time that we wanted to close a part of the business. The reason why was we didn't see the potential in the business. So we discussed it in the management team, and then we said, let's close this business. Then when I went out from the room, I met a person actually in the elevator about elevator pitch, and the person had heard rumors that we were discussing about closing the business. And then the person told me the story and said that, hey, I want to have your attention. Can you give me 5 minutes? And I said, yes, of course, I will listen. So he told a story 5 minutes, and I said, maybe the decision we just made was not the correct one. Mm. So you know what? I want you to come to the management team and discuss this with us. So we actually we booked a new meeting and invited the person, and we discussed and we reversed the decision. Mm-hmm. So we said that this was a very bad decision. We should not close this business area. We should actually continue, and we should invest more. And later this was a success.
Right.
So it was very bold, number one, from the person to raising the hand and have the integrity to tell me this was a very stupid decision. and this was really a good story, because what I want to say with this is it's important that we can raise our hands, and actually take the discussion internally to have openly fair discussions about these different decisions that we make. And I'm so happy that the person came and dared to take the discussion.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I'm also very happy with that one, that we as a group also listened and learned from this was maybe not the right decision, so we reversed the decision, say that okay, we will invest instead of closing it, and it was later then a success.
Well, that is a fantastic story, and like you said, humility, learning, and actually coming out on the other side even better than the previous decision.
Yes, correct.
So talking a little bit about strategy, you mentioned it briefly, but we now talk about simplify, innovate, and grow. And just playing the devil's advocate for a second here, if you've worked in Telco or Telia for a bit, these are familiar words. We've heard this before: simplify, innovate, grow. Very nice things. Of course, we should do them. But now when we put this into our strategy and an important focus going ahead, what is really new?
So I think every telco in the world has simplification on their agenda because we have a complex environment. And if we are an ex-incumbent, which we are in Sweden, there is even, and also in Finland, there's also a longer history of complexity. So I need to go back to when I joined Telia. So I spent the first 2.5 months traveling around to the countries, talking with people, having a lot of individual discussions. And what struck me and what was common is that everyone said that, hey, we need to reduce the complexity. It's very hard to get things done in the company, and we need please help us, to reduce the complexity. So then I went back and looked into our operations, and I see that we have a lot of product and service development and IT, etc., in common. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is just that this is creating a form of complexity internally, because every market is somehow unique, depending on if we are more B2B heavy or more B2C heavy, demand from customers. So one size doesn't fit really all. So this was actually a big change program that we looked into, and this is a symbolic and important part for driving simplification, to clear out roles and responsibilities, to make decisions much closer to the customer. That is an important part of taking out complexity and then focus on simplification. So I think because clarity is also simplification in some way, So if it's clear, if we have a clear direction where we want to go, it's also simple for us, and it helps people to move on. So I think that is a big change in how we do it. Then, of course, grow is an important part, because we need to grow our revenues. We have, of course, cost is increasing, etc. We need to have revenue growth, and that is maybe the most tricky part. To cut cost is an easy exercise, or easy. It's very tangible. You know what you have for cost. But driving revenues, it's more what's happening in the market, competition, etc. It's more complex. So I think the most important part for us now going forward is how to generate growth, and there innovation comes in. And now when I'm talking about innovation, I'm not talking only about finding a new iPhone as a symbolic act. It's more about incremental innovation, how we can do things better every day, and serve our customers even better every day. So these incremental steps all the time, they are important when it comes to innovation.
Absolutely. And when you have a strategy, of course, you have this famous saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yes.
But then you can also flip it, and you can say that culture makes strategy happen. So in terms of these strategic shifts going forward, what does the strategy require of our culture at Telia?
So, and as you say, again, then strategy is a strategy. Everyone can do a good strategy. Execution is the one that differentiates the winners from the loser, or separates the winners from the loser, whatever you call it. So, and when it comes to culture, there are a couple of things that are important. One is leadership, or execution. Leadership is one important part, and another one is corporate culture. And if you look at Telia's corporate culture, we have a very clear and strong corporate culture here, built on our values, dare, care, simplify. But I think we need to get more performance into our culture. Keep and performance in if I should try to simplify that a little bit, that is about keeping promises. We say something, we deliver on it, and we of course celebrate when we have good achievements. So getting more of that into our culture, I think, is important for us to be able to deliver on the strategy.
Yeah, and then if you can try as specifically as you can, of course, how do we then pivot our culture towards performance?
Yeah, so I don't think we need to pivot so much. I think we need to add more, to our corporate culture. Because today, again, if you look at the corporate culture and the foundation of it, when you look at the values, dare, care, simplify, I think we should dare, care, simplify, and then add performance on top. So I don't think we need to pivot so much. More that we should develop the current one and add performance into it. And performance for me is actually keeping promises, set clear ambitions, and do everything we can to deliver on, and then celebrate. So highlight the performance much more. Into our culture.
Yeah, and that is also like one of our core culture descriptions, celebrating the good stuff.
Yes,
which is a key component. And when we're looking ahead, there's one quote that I heard from Steve Jobs that I think is really interesting, because when he was alive and when he was leading Apple, he was asked what he's most proud of that he's done or achieved at Apple. And you would think that he would list up all these products or services, but he said that he's actually more proud of what they've not done, what they actually said no to, in just as much as what they've done. And I think that's an interesting perspective going forward. Of course, we can have the strategy, we can have the culture, but in your words, priorities going forward, what do we have to maybe start saying no to or stop doing?
So I think, first of all, I need to just to add a comment on the Stephen Jobs. I think he was very right in his decision, or his comment, sorry. Because if you look at the priorities, we have an important role to play here as leaders. It's very easy to add priorities to the list. So, for example, if you ask a question, what should we prioritize and what should we not prioritize? Guess what? The list on the left side, if we say then that what we should prioritize on the left side, that is full. And then you look at the right side where you said, this we want to stop or take away, is very empty. And here we play an important role, because it's not an easy task, to give to an individual in the company, say that, hey, what you want to stop with, because everything is maybe a bit related to each other, so it's very difficult to just say, I want to stop this. So important role for us as leaders actually is to say stop and don't do, instead of adding on the left side. So this is an important part. And for us it's really to stop. For example, now we are going through a big change now in the company. An important part is actually to say no and stop to common functionalities and more into the countries instead. And the reason is why it is very clear. It's a clear accountability and responsibility into the countries, but it helps us to get things done. Because today, if you want to do something, you need to ask a couple of people, 3 or 5 people, and it's very difficult to get things done. And one advice I give to young people, when they ask me, what advice can you give me? Well, it's get things done. That is really important, independent of what you do. And we need to help people to do that. And in order to do that, we need to simplify the structure. And that is actually what we do at the moment.
Yeah. And it's... I can echo that very much when I work with sales and we're talking about excellence. Like people can almost sometimes mistake excellence or performance for perfectionism. But if you look at the definition of excellence, it's a continual commitment to always doing your best. And I think if you do your best today, that's what we can require. And then if your best today is the same in 1 year, then that's no development. So I think that kind of underlines that we actually need to improve looking ahead.
Yes.
So going to the close of this conversation, we touched a bit on the telco industry in the past, but I would love to get your perspectives if we try and look ahead, let's say 10 years. Of course, an impossible task, but some of your thoughts, how do you think telco or our industry would look like in 10 years?
I think it's very difficult to say, as you say, in 10 years how they look. But a couple of comments. Comment number first is about our core services, communication services. Make sure that we develop the connected living for every person, individual or company or society will still be very important and relevant, even in 5 years. Security plays a total new role for us, which we will see impact of the coming 5 years. That we are requested to deliver our core services, but with much higher degree of security than we did in the past. So I think these are two, but I think telcos will play an important role continuously in developing societies. Our societies are getting more and more digitalized. We have just seen the start of AI when it comes to language models especially. And guess what? All the data that you need to do that is produced in our networks. So we will be super relevant in 10 years as well. Our challenge, I think, as a sector is to prove the value of the services that we deliver so we actually get paid for them in the right way. Because we are demanded to invest more and more every year. And we need just to find a way that we can monetize on the service that we are delivering. Because they are so valuable for the people, the individuals living in a country, the companies and the society. And that is giving me a lot of energy.
Yeah, and that fuels our passion. I can definitely tell it fuels your passion to lead us and drive us forward together. And it's been wonderful hearing your perspectives on all of this. And as we know, working in our industry, change is happening fast. But we're taking the charge. We're leading. We're going into the future with optimism, as far as I can tell from you, and I'll echo that as well.
Yeah, and don't forget the curiosity as well around it, because change are coming in such a high speed, and we need to be curious and look into, okay, what can we do with this development that we see? How can we take that as a benefit for us and the customers, going forward? And that is really also very exciting.
Very exciting. Well, Patrik, it's been great having you here. Just again want to thank you for taking your time to talk to us and share your perspectives and getting to know you a little bit better. And hopefully we'll have another conversation soon and share that to our listeners as well. Thank you very much, and thank you for watching and listening.